Did you know that there are 11 constellations named after Hercules and the labours he completed, including Sagittarius, the Arrow, Leo, the Lion, and of course, the 5th largest constellation, Hercules. Hello and welcome to Ancient History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly, and today we're going to explore the legend of the greatest hero in Greek mythology, the demigod Hercules. Don't forget the easiest way to support us is to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any new uploads. The Greek demigod Heracles, better known by his Roman name Hercules, is famous for his strength and stamina, as well as a series of adventures known as the 12 Labours of Hercules, in which he defeated powerful monsters such as the 9-headed Hydra and Cerberus, the hound of the underworld, but more on that later. Hercules was the son of the god Zeus and the mortal woman Alcmene. Despite his heroic strength, he lived a very difficult life, due to Zeus's wife Hera seeking to destroy him. The name Heracles, which he adopted later in life, means Glory of Hera, which signifies that he would become famous through his difficulties with the goddess, who hated him as living evidence of yet another of her husband's affairs. He was brought up in the court of his supposed father Amphitryon and was taught a number of skills, including how to play the lyre, horseback riding, how to drive a chariot, wrestling, fencing, and archery. Hercules didn't know his own strength though, and when he accidentally killed his music teacher, Linus, he was sent to tend to the flocks to keep him out of trouble. He didn't stay out of trouble for long, for he heard that the Theban army had been defeated by an army of minions. So he led an army of Theban warriors to defeat the minions and restore order at Thebes. In thanks, Creon, the king of Thebes, gave his daughter Megara in marriage to Hercules. Hercules and Megara lived happily for some time and had many children, until Hera set a madness upon Hercules, which made him kill his children, and in some versions of the myth, Megara as well. Hercules was consumed with grief, but his cousin, the hero Theseus, convinced him to atone for his sins. So Hercules visited the Oracle of Delphi, which told him to seek out his cousin Eurystheus, the king of Tiryns and Mycenae, who would devise of him 10 challenges, known as labours, to rid him of his sins. And so he did. The 12 labours were purposely devised by Eurystheus as impossible, because he was Hera's champion. No mortal would have survived any of them, and even for a demigod, they were incredibly dangerous and difficult. The first labour was to kill the Nemean Lion, which couldn't be killed by any weapon, so Hercules trapped it in a cave and strangled it. He then skinned it and wore its skin as a cloak. First labour done. His second labour was to kill the Lernaean Hydra, a creature similar to a dragon, but it had 9 venomous heads, and when you cut off one of its heads, 2 more would grow back. With help from his nephew Iolaus, Hercules would cut off a head, and then Iolaus would sear the neck so no more heads could grow back. For future use, Hercules dipped some of his arrows in the Hydra venom, which would kill very painfully. This labour, however, was disqualified because Hercules had help. Hercules' third labour was to catch the Ceryneian Hind, a deer with golden antlers sacred to Artemis. Hercules searched for the deer for an entire year, until he finally took it down with an arrow to the hoof. Artemis didn't want to let him take the deer, but she allowed him once she heard of his tasks. Third labour, check. His fourth labour took him to the land of the centaurs to capture the Erymanthian boar. The wine that Hercules brought with him to lure the boar drew the attention of the centaurs, and he had to kill many of them before finally capturing the Erymanthian boar. Fourth labour done. Hercules' next challenge was to clean out the stables of Augeas in 1 day. Eurystheus thought this should be impossible due to the vast size of the stables and the size of the herd. However, Hercules diverted the flow of 2 rivers to run through the middle of the stables, and had the labour done quite quickly. However, Hercules bargained with King Augeas, proposing his cleaning services for 1/10 of the herd. After Hercules had completed his task, not only did Augeas refuse to honour his bargain, but Eurystheus disqualified the labour, saying he shouldn't be working for a profit in any of his tasks. For his sixth labour, he had to drive away the Stymphalian Birds, which were man-eating birds with feathers of armour and pointed beaks, sharp like knives. They killed people with their beaks and then ate them. Hercules did this with a rattle gifted to him by Athena, and as they flew away, he shot them down. Another labour, check. For labour 7, Hercules had to retrieve the Cretan Bull from Knossos, which belonged to King Minos and was sacred to the god Poseidon. Now Minos didn't want the bull anymore because his wife had had a child with it, the Minotaur. So Hercules took it and rowed it across the sea back to Eurystheus. Labour 7 completed. Hercules' next labour was to retrieve the mares of Diomedes. These mares were fed with human flesh, so no one could go near them. But Hercules simply fed Diomedes to the horses, and once they were full, he brought them back to Eurystheus. Success. Hercules then had to retrieve the Girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. Hercules was initially welcomed by the Amazons, but the women soon turned against him as they heard a rumour that he was there to capture Hippolyta and enslave them. They attacked him, and during the fight, Hippolyta was killed, so Hercules took her belt and left. Another version of the story tells it far more peacefully and no one dies. Another labour successfully completed. Hercules' 10th labour was to bring back the cattle of Geryon, the king of Cadiz. During this labour, Hercules inadvertently built the Pillars of Hercules at Gibraltar and threatened to shoot the sun because it was too hot. Rounding up the cattle proved to be very difficult, and the herd had to be complete for it to count. When Hercules finally got the herd back to Greece, Hera sent gadflies, which stung and scattered the beasts, and so Hercules had to round them up again. Once he finally got the herd to Eurystheus, the labour was considered a success. Although that was the 10th labour, 2 of them were called disqualifications, so Hercules was set 2 final labours to bring his total up to 12. Hercules' 11th labour was to retrieve the golden apples of the Hesperides. During this labour, Hercules killed the eagle and freed the bound Prometheus. In thanks for his rescue, Prometheus warned Hercules of the dragon Ladon, which guarded the apples, and suggested he try and get the Titan Atlas, who held up the earth and the heavens on his shoulders, to get the apples for him. When Hercules arrived at the grove, he took the weight of the earth and the heavens, and Atlas went to retrieve the apples. When Atlas returned, he didn't want to take the earth back, so Hercules said he would continue to hold the burden, but only if Atlas would take it, so that he could fashion cushions on his shoulders with his cloak. When Atlas took the earth and the heavens back, Hercules grabbed the apples, and he left. His final labour was to bring back the 3-headed guard dog of the underworld alive, Cerberus. Whilst he was in the underworld, Hercules freed his cousin Theseus from the chair of forgetfulness, and spoke to the hero Meleager, who told him to marry his sister Deianira when he got back up to Earth. Hades allowed Hercules to take Cerberus back with him as long as he didn't use any weapons and he didn't hurt the dog. So Hercules wrestled Cerberus into submission and brought him up to Eurystheus, and then he sent him straight back down to Hades. Finally, Hercules was free to live his life as he wished. However, his freedom and his happiness didn't last long. Soon after, he was struck again with madness by Hera and killed the prince Iphitus of Oechalia. And to atone for his sins, he had to sell himself as a slave. He then became the property of Queen Omphale of Lydia and was forced to dress as a woman and do needlework, until she took him as a lover and then finally set him free. Hercules' adventures continue as he heads to Troy before the Trojan War and helps the Olympians fight and win against the Titans. He participates in more adventures until he falls in love with the sister of Meleager, Deianira. They live together happily for some time in Calydon until they decide to move to Trachis, but to get there they had to cross the river Avenus. There they met the centaur Nessus, who offered to carry Deianira on his back across the river. As he was carrying her across the river, he tried to rape her, and Hercules shot at him with an arrow covered in the Hydra poison. As he was dying, he told Deianira his blood possessed a special quality of a love potion, and she should take a vial of it, for if she ever felt as though Hercules was losing interest in her. If she felt he was losing interest, she should sprinkle some of it in Hercules' top, and then he would love her forever. Of course, Nessus knew that the blood was actually a deadly poison and would kill any mortal. Hercules and Deianira were happy for some time until Hercules went to war against Eurytus, and after Hercules killed him, he took his daughter Iole as a concubine. Deianira was worried that Hercules was becoming more fond of Iole than herself, so she sent Hercules a shirt with the love potion in it. Hercules was poisoned by the shirt, but since he was a demigod, he could not die and was doomed to linger in agony. When Deianira realized what she had done, she hanged herself out of guilt and remorse. Hercules climbed Mount Etna and built his own funeral pyre in a clearing. He gave away all of his possessions and then lay down with his head on his club and covered with the Nemean Lion skin. The torches were then lit and the funeral pyre was set aflame. Athena took Hercules from the flames and his immortal life on Olympus began. He can still be seen in the night sky kneeling in prayer to Zeus as the constellation Hercules. Hercules was the greatest hero to the ancient Greeks and was worshipped all throughout the ancient world. Who are the greatest heroes of the books, movies, and stories of today? How do they compare to Hercules? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any new uploads. This video was brought to you by Ancient History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. Ancient History Encyclopedia is a not-for-profit organisation. If you'd like to support our work, hit the card in the top corner of the screen or via the link below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.